Hello Virgo, welcome to my channel. It is an absolute blessing to be here with you. So thank you for being here with me for your September 2023 Tarotscope. In the description box below, you will find links to all sorts of goodies. You will also find a timestamp if you would like to jump to the start of your reading. Please do keep in mind that this is a collective reading, not a personal reading, so only take what resonates with you and leave the rest. September is a universal 7 month, and this 7 energy is often thought of as the spiritual seeker or wise sage on the quest for deep inner knowledge. We're being asked to slow down, dive deep into ourselves, and reflect on our soul's desires and our purpose. We're also being asked to seek divine wisdom in solitude and stillness, and then to allow that to move us. And this is what we are looking into for this month. If you would like deeper insights to your month, which I'm encouraging all signs to do, please check out your sun, moon, and rising Tarotscopes. Because of this deep reflection that we're being asked to take, I feel sometimes things can get a little bit murky. And so checking out those other Tarotscopes may be beneficial for you. Let's dive in, Virgo, and see what's going on for you this month. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us about the overall energy for Virgo for September 2023, please. Thank you. Tell us, please, what might Virgo hear if they slow down and listen to their souls and God's inner callings? Yes, thank you. Tell us, please, how could integrating what Virgo learns help to bring clarity, stability, and or structure to their path, purpose, and life? How could integrating what Virgo learns help to bring clarity, stability, and or structure to their path, purpose, and life, please? Thank you. Tell us, please, what wisdom do Virgo's angels, guides, there they are, thank you. So what we're looking at in that space is the wisdom your angels, guides, ancestors, spirit, source, universe, God most want to share with you as you move forward. I'm going to ask Virgo for your understanding and patience using this deck here. It is circular, as you can see, and is not something that I am incredibly familiar with, so I appreciate your grace. Tell us more, please, about the overall energy for September for Virgo. Thank you. Tell us more, please, what Virgo might hear if they slow down and listen to their souls and God's callings. Okay, thank you. Tell us more, please. How could integrating what Virgo learns help to bring clarity? Thank you. I feel like that was there. I don't know, maybe it wasn't, but it is now, and I feel like it's supposed to be, so there we are. Okay, tell us more, please. What wisdom do... There it is. Thank you. Feel this one here too as well. Tell us anything we may have missed or need to know about the overall energy of September for Virgo. Anything we may have missed or need to know, please. Okay, thank you. Anything we may have missed or need to know, please, about what Virgo might hear if they slow down and listen to their souls and God's callings. Okay. Tell us anything we may have missed or need to know about how could integrating what they learn. Yep, thank you. Anything we may have missed or need to know, please, about the wisdom. Those there, yes, thank you. And then All right. Let's dive in. So, Virgo, your overall energy for September. We have a leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. So, I feel like this is a lot about faith. I know that kind of goes without saying, but I feel as though this month for you is taking you into that more spiritual seeker um, and inner knowledge, but how do I say, from a space of having faith in what you feel to be true and leaping on that, right? I feel as though for some of you, you may have been getting messages, whether that be as we move through the month or potentially even before September, where you're being called to certain things. And that could be different for everyone. But I feel as though this month you're being encouraged to take that leap. And this could, I don't know why, but for some reason it feels like this could look like planning for certain things or organizing in some kind of way. But I don't know that it necessarily means actually like actually taking a step towards those things or taking action towards those things in the sense of like, for example, if you're feeling called to like create a business or something, I don't know that you should necessarily be doing that like, oh, here's my business, but rather planning for that, like planning to come out with it, making the necessary arrangements to bring that forward. Okay. So again, I do feel like this is about having faith in what you feel called toward. And, again, starting to make moves for that. You have awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Again, taking what you're learning as you're becoming aware of these things and integrating them into your way of being. So again, for example, using the business idea or creating a business or having an idea for a business or something of that nature, it would be, taking these things that that you have learned and are learning throughout this month and integrating them into your being, to ultimately step out into that, to embody it, right? And so again, it feels like planning or organizing or something along those lines. And I feel that this is to move you in a new direction. Like I'm actually kind of seeing it as this is the way you've been going, and all of a sudden it's like, we're going this way. Okay. I'm very drawn to the fact that you have moons on both of these cards here. You can see it. There's a small crescent moon here and then a full moon here. And with the first card coming out being that full moon, I feel as though it's seeing the fears, okay? Seeing the, how do we say? Seeing the fears, seeing the doubt, seeing the illusion, even maybe being a bit confused and moving past that or moving in spite of it or despite it, however it resonates most with you. And I feel by doing that, you're going to be potentially, again, bringing in this, or rather, you're likely bringing in this information. And as you continue to move in that direction with what you feel is true within, I feel like those illusions and those fears and those doubts grow smaller and smaller. Or potentially, as you begin, making these arrangements and planning and organizing and all these things, those doubts and those fears and things grow smaller as your faith builds. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I just kind of talked in a circle, but I also feel it's very interesting because on both of these cards, these beings are up off the ground. So I feel for some of you, you may have been in a very materialistic or physical or dense space, or seeing things from a very materialistic, physical, or dense perspective. And I feel like you may be being asked to take things a bit higher, to take things a bit more into that spiritual realm, or not so much in the physical world, like the tangible, right? But looking at things from a different perspective. We have here moon void, of course, disconnect, withdraw, and reception. Yeah, so it's interesting because I'm feeling this like disconnect from that very earthly kind of point of view, and that reception in the sense of opening up to these things coming in from a different space. Okay, so for example, your intuition speaking to you, spirit speaking to you, your angels, these sorts of things, your psychic potentially, if you resonate with that, those more psychic aspects of yourself, being receptive to what is coming in, right? Those conversations that you have with God, or however you'd like to word it, opening up to those things coming in, allowing them to come in. But again, it does feel very much like being in this space of the unknown and disconnecting from the known, or what we can tangibly or physically touch or explain, and getting outside of that. So I feel as though this month for you, the overall energy is taking you to this more spiritual perspective. Yes, spiritual perspective, but also this more spiritual aspect of yourself and refining that. Okay. We have sixth house, Virgo. So you showing up for yourself, work, service, and health. Yeah, it's very interesting because I do feel that this is you showing up for yourself. But for some of you, I feel like you've shown up for yourself in the physical world sense. Okay, so maybe you focus on your health and you are very active in that. Maybe you focus heavily on your work and you're very active in that. Your finances may be feeling okay. Um, you know, those sorts of things. Again, it feels almost like, okay, I kind of feel like I have a footing on some of these more physical world things. But again, showing up for yourself outside of that. And for some of you, this may have something to do with acts of service, but connected to your soul self. Okay, so those um, more like service to humanity type of things. So in order to evolve and grow your soul and to bring that through your being, it's very interesting energy, this coming through in this way. But I feel that there's something here about balancing that out. Again, for some of you, I feel like you've been very yeah, okay, I'm getting fear coming up, but I'll come back to that in a moment. I feel like some of you have been very much on the physical side of things. I'm very focused in that realm. And so I feel like this is helping you or asking you to come more into balance by paying attention as well to your more spiritual self. And I feel that for some of you, you may have been avoiding this. Uh, Not because I feel that you aren't spiritual, because I do feel like there are some of you who are and who maybe feel rather intrigued or connected to, the more psychic, spiritual, intuitive side of things. But I feel as though that depth may be missing. Really sinking into it, really soaking yourself in it, really, embodying it. It feels like there's an imbalance there. Okay, so this is quite interesting, but I do feel that this is, again, you showing up for yourself, but in a different way. And for some of you, this is you showing up for yourself by, again, organizing, um, planning, and taking responsibility for this next stage of your evolution. Okay, bringing that more spiritual aspect in, or that faith in. You have Pisces. Yeah, you cannot make this stuff up, really. We have Pisces, psychic, intuitive, dreamy. Like I said, I feel like this is working on those aspects of yourself more deeply. Okay, bringing that into your being. I feel like this is more of where the focus is for you this month. Okay, is bringing in more of that intuitive energy, that psychic energy, and disconnecting from the more earthly ties, or tangible, explainable things. Okay, yeah, And again, I do feel like for some of you, this has to do with your service, your acts of service, and from a soul perspective. Okay. I also feel like for some of you this month, maybe your dreams are a bit, how would we say? For some of you, I feel like the amount of dreams that you're having or remembering may increase, and you may find that the dreams that you do have are much more vivid. I don't think that's going to be for everyone, but it is a little something that's coming through. We have for you the King of Wands in the reverse. So, this is that. Here's the thing. Okay. With this King of Wands in the reverse, there is this energy of, first of all, being a bit impulsive. Okay. And so for some of you, and this is not going to resonate with everyone, but I feel for some of you, you dismiss, or rather like impulsively dismiss those more energetic things. How would I say this? Yeah, like dismissing more of, how do I say this? Those more spiritual callings. Okay, I feel like some of you impulsively dismiss some of those things because it's like, how can this be helpful in the physical world? Like, it takes out like the more practical, if you will. And I feel for some of you, when that comes up, it's like, I don't know that I want to, like, that's not practical. Why would I do that? Right? But I also feel there's this energy here of, for some, this kind of, how do we say, impossible expectations. Having these impossible expectations on yourself, and I feel like it's very connected to the physical world, which, okay, I understand the desire to work towards the things that are practical, or to be practical and bring, doing things that can bring in stability and that sort of thing. But I feel as though there's all of this weight, if you will, on that physical aspect, and much less focus on the more energetic side of things. And that imbalance, I feel, is draining. So I feel that there may come a point where you just feel like you're exhausted. I know that's probably a very long-winded way of saying that, but I feel as though, I feel that there's these expectations that you may place on yourself as far as the physical world is concerned, as far as your finances, your health, your work, these sorts of things. And I feel it's incredibly draining on you because you have to balance out that energetic side of yourself. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And again, for some of you, there's this level of doubt in the more spiritual aspect or energetic aspect of things. For some of you, I also feel that there's a lot of doubt, or feeling like it's an impossible goal or ridiculous or something along those lines, in regards to things that you're passionate about, that are outside of the norm, that are outside of what we may see as, again, practical. It's like, how can, for example, like, how can having a meditative business be practical? Like, I don't know. I don't know why that's coming in. Or maybe some of you, like, are feeling called to meditate or something, and you're like, why would I do that? Or I don't know. It's a very weird energy. But I feel like when it comes to that more psychic, intuitive, spiritual, energetic side of self, there's this hesitancy. Okay. Or if it's just something you're passionate about, but maybe you're not sure that it's going to be practical or provide stability in some kind of way, there's this dismissal of it. We do have the Ace of Wands here. and again, there's this heavy focus on, it's interesting because you have all this wands energy showing up, or fire energy. And this is very connected with our personal power, our sense of adventure, our inspiration, our energy, our passion, our drive, right? These sorts of things. And you have both of these showing up, which I feel is speaking to that, like that fire being smothered out within you, because it feels like there's more of this focus on, again, those I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but those more practical things, those things that make sense in the physical world or in the material sense. It makes more sense. It like you're more willing to do those things because they seem to make sense to you. But on the flip side of that, while that can bring stability and security and things like this, on the flip side of that, it's incredibly draining because you're only focusing on one aspect of yourself versus embodying all of it. Um, so I feel there's this feeling, perhaps for some of you, of being kind of drained, of feeling like your passions are out of reach, or the things that you maybe would like to do, being kind of unattainable or ridiculous or foolish or something like that. But I feel as though you're being called to address that fire within. What is really calling to you? What really lights you up? Because I feel that there's this kind of push to jump, right? To start moving in that direction, towards those things that light you up. You do, yeah. You do have the King of Pentacles here as well. So two kings showing up. So, which is interesting. One in the reverse, one not. Again, it feels like bringing these things that are energetically circulating or moving within you to that physical world. Like bringing that more into the physical. So for example, for some of you, I feel like this is about a more regular spiritual practice, whatever that looks like. For some of you, I feel like this is bringing that inspiration, that passion, the things that really speak to your soul, bringing that bringing that in. Yeah, I mean, I also feel like it's interesting as well because the King of Pentacles is this energy, or can be, of the provider. And maybe that's why you're so heavily focused, for some of you, on the more physical or tangible aspects of things. But if we step outside of this for a moment, there are a couple of things coming in. One being the King of Pentacles. The reason why the King of Pentacles has created such stability is because he's very predictable, if that makes sense. Why change or fix what's not broken, right? So it's like doing the same things all the time, which can get very boring, right? Where that lack of passion and motivation and kind of boredom with the Ace of Wands in reverse can come in. So there's that aspect coming through here. Another aspect of this, I feel, is the provider, in the sense of, so I see God, right, as kind of that provider. And so I feel like there's this need to connect with that, right? And I feel like in doing so, you could find more of that inspiration, more of that motivation, more of that charisma, that fire, passion coming into your experience. I hope that makes sense. So if you slow down and listen to your soul and God's callings, what might you hear? Ooh, you have no. You might hear no. That's funny. Wait, postpone, pause, say no. So again, I feel like it's not about, running, like having these things come in, and running with them. I feel like it's pausing and planning in some cases for some of you. For others of you, I feel like part of this is like saying no. Right? Like I feel as though there's this need again to want to control things, and how would I say, to put on that superhero cape and just to keep going and going and going and going and going. Again, having these kind of impossible expectations of yourself. And I feel as though, you might hear the word like, no, wait a minute. No, we're not meant to keep going right now. We're meant to be slowing down. We're meant to really be feeling into ourselves on a more intuitive, spiritual aspect, right? So I feel like it's not just about the grind. Okay, like life is so much more than that. And so again, I feel as though you may be finding yourself very conflicted, because I feel like there's this need to want to continue to create stability, or to be the provider, to bring in abundance, these sorts of things. But there needs to be that balance, because it feels like over time there's a certain level of suffering that comes with just grinding and hustling and grinding and hustling and grinding and hustling, where you feel spiritually empty, right? Or like you have no motivation or passion, like that fire and zest for life is just kind of depleted. And it's interesting because we go from King of Wands to the Ace of Wands, King of Wands being at the end of the Wands suit, and Ace of Wands being at the beginning, right? So it's like this constant cycle of just impossible expectations and having no energy, or being, feeling like, oh my gosh, we're doing this again. Like it just feels kind of repetitive, and again, empty. You also have here Sisterhood of the Rose, beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, teacher. And so, there's this sense of like missing out on these incredibly beautiful things about life, which include that spiritual aspect, right? Seeing creation and everything, or rather, God's hand in everything. Recognizing the beauty in the world and soaking that up. Again, it's very interesting too, because Ace of Wands in the upright is certainly about that creative force. And this Sisterhood of the Rose, which, doesn't matter if you're male or female, but the Sisterhood of the Rose energy is seeing beauty in everything and creating it. Right? And so I do feel that this is again an encouragement to slow down and to align with the things that do that. And another interesting aspect of this card is there's a sentence in the guidebook that says something along the lines of, the Sisterhood of the Rose is this lineage of priestesses who are devoted to being of service to humanity and seeding light consciousness. And so, again, it's that more, or it speaks to rather that acts of service, as I was referring to earlier on, because I feel this is more about that connection to your soul versus anything else, versus the physical aspect, right? Connecting more to your heart space and what rings true in your soul. Very interesting. You have here as well Jupiter, optimism, growth, opportunity. Yeah, this is not about doing the same things over. This is giving you the opportunity to grow, to expand, to, step outside of your comfort zone, because the King of Pentacles is very comfortable, right? He's found something that works and he keeps doing it, which, okay, I get it, but it's very comfortable. And when you are, when you refuse to get outside of your comfort zone, or you don't get outside of it, you don't grow, right? You remain the same. And this is more about expanding. This is more about growing. This is more about taking the opportunity to experience something different. And here's the thing as well, Jupiter is that planet of higher learning and understanding. Not only that, we have optimism here, and that leap really was bringing in that energy of like having faith, right, and taking that leap. So I feel like this is meant to be growing that more spiritual side of yourself, and I feel like that is what you would hear if you were to slow down and listen. You also have here ninth house, Sagittarius, philosophy, spirituality, and knowledge, like I said. This is not about, I feel for you, Virgo, the more tangible, physical, dense, materialistic aspects of things. This is more about that philosophical, spiritual, higher aspect, right? This is about kind of it almost feels, I don't want to say experimental, but it's like it's this whole new ball game that I feel you're being asked to step into, to find balance, right? Because um Sagittarius in the tarot is represented by temperance, which is about finding that balance, that harmony. It can also be this energy of finding meaning, right? And so I just feel like this is a side that you're being asked to delve into. I'm also noticing that there's a lot of blue showing up for you, and we have it here with the Pisces card, we have it with the no card, and we have it with this ninth house card as well. And so, I do feel that for you, that blue energy is reminding me of Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael can be that kind of breakthrough type of energy, right? Where there's like cords being cut. And I feel that for some of you, and maybe not all of you will resonate with this, but for some of you, I feel like there's this cutting of cords, if you will, where you are attached to the more physical, tangible, practical aspects of life. Which, oh my gosh, you guys, I just felt like your energy. I felt a bunch of you just go, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Like, I just felt that rush of like fear and anxiety and like pulling inward. Because it's like, what do you mean detaching from things that are practical? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if that resonates with you. Oh, yes, look at this. We have the Tower. So 2 cards showing up with this kind of lightning striking, right? Because again, I feel like if you slow down, you would probably hear that these things are being shaken up for you to experience something new. Yeah, that push, if you will, to make some of these changes and to integrate these new ways of being are for you to transform, are for you to create foundational shifts. And here's what's very fascinating. In the major arcana, before the tower is the devil. And the devil is that representation of that more egoic, materialistic side of ourselves. And when spirit shows you, hey, this is something that needs your attention, this is not a time for you to be hyper focused on that more materialistic egoic side of yourself, but rather, to look at something else, then what will happen is, spirit, God, source will bring in these situations that shake that. Okay? That say, hey, we tried to warn you, you didn't listen, so now we kind of have to take more drastic measures, type of thing. So, I do feel that this is what is coming in. I feel like, okay, you guys, I say this with so much love. So much love. I feel as though if you slow down, you might hear this message coming through of like, listen, you're being given this opportunity to grow. Okay? We're asking you to wait, to pause a minute, and to look at the more spiritual, higher, higher consciousness level of life. We're asking you to take that into consideration and to dive deeper into that. And I feel like if you are resistant, then that is when this lightning comes in. That is when this tower moment strikes. And it is not to punish you. It is not to, like, how do I say, activate that more critical, inner critic, if you will. But it is to shake things up for you. It is to say, hey, we were trying to tell you that this needed your attention and you haven't been acknowledging that. And now we kind of need to do this so that you have this so that you can transform, so that these aspects of yourself that are not serving you can die and you can be reborn, right, into a new way of being. I'm also finding it very interesting that we have this squirrel down here with the acorns, because squirrels are gatherers, right? And I feel as though, again, this is not about like, it's not about like hoarding, but about gathering information and seeing things from a different perspective. Okay. You also have here the Hermit. Look at that. You showing up for yourself yet again. And here's what's funny. So again, in the tarot, you, Virgo, are represented by the Hermit. And the Hermit is the archetype of the wise man or wise woman, the wise seeker. Okay? On that search for truth, for wisdom. And I feel as though you're being asked to reflect. I mean, you have two major arcana showing up here in this space of what you might hear if you slow down. Because I feel like that right now, this month, you are being guided to grow. That is the major arcana. It is that journey that we take. Okay, that inner journey. And so I feel as though you are being called to take that journey, right? To show up for yourself in a more spiritual aspect, to break free from the limitations of that materialistic or physical or dense earthly perspective, and to see things differently. right? To allow yourself to gain the insight and awareness, right? Again, in order for you to grow. It's interesting that we have the Hermit with that wise man, and we have that, what is this? Ninth house with philosophy and spirituality and knowledge, right? Because again, it's taking us from that more physical perspective and more into the spiritual. Okay. You also have the Four of Wands in the reverse. So first of all, fours are about stability. Okay, this is in the reverse. So this would say to me that there could be this instability. Maybe that's conflict in your home. Maybe that's feeling like you're not supported. Maybe that's feeling very restricted in some sense. But I feel as though, okay, if you are feeling like there's conflict, and it's interesting because for some reason, yes, this refers to like your physical home, and that may be applicable, but for whatever reason, I'm feeling like for some of you, this is conflict at home, as in like your home, like within you, like you are your home, your soul's home. So I'm getting that. For some of you, I feel as though, or if you're feeling, yeah, there's this feeling of like, okay, well, I don't feel supported. And maybe that is within your family dynamic or your home dynamic. Because maybe these are things that you've wanted to explore further, but haven't because you don't feel supported. Um, and if that's true, I feel like some of these things are being brought to the surface, and you may be gaining that kind of wake up call around these things. It's a freaking weird energy right here, you guys. Um, I just saw 4321 on the timer, and that for me would indicate that this is meant to be putting you in a position where you can ultimately like blast off or propel, right? Like take off kind of energy. So it's like, kind of counting down to build you back up type of thing. There's an exceptionally abundant amount of fire energy for you. Maybe some of you have a lot of fire energy in your chart. Um, but I really feel like what is coming through for you is challenging a lot of things for you. And I feel like if you slow down, you're going to start to see where these energies are conflicting, where some of the, I feel like spirit will speak how this is impacting your experience, maybe through hindering your growth, right? And I feel like this, again, like there's fear coming up, it could expose your fears. It just feels like you have been restricting yourself and your growth. Take it, of course, as it resonates. How could integrating what you learn help to bring clarity, stability, and or structure to your path, purpose, and life? Deep replenishment, yeah, retreat, rest, be held. I mean, I feel like this could expose to you that imbalance, could bring great clarity to that, and could really highlight why this area of your life is needing your attention. Because it's like you can only demand so much of your physical self before it just, you know, falls apart. And I feel like this could be bringing things to your attention around there needs to be care on both sides of this fence, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't get water, from an empty well, essentially. There has to be that ability to replenish. So I feel like if you slow down and listen to this, I feel like you're going to be shown very clearly why you're being put in this position. Because again, you can't keep going. You're going to run out of energy. You're going to run out of steam. And continuing to move in this direction, though it may seem practical from a very earthly perspective, will eventually, kind of throw you out of the race type of thing. And I feel like you're meant to be integrating this new way of being where you're paying attention to all facets of yourself, because they all need attention. They all need care. They all need to be nurtured. They all need to be kind of these well-oiled machines, if you will, though you're not a machine. Okay, it's just the best way that I could explain that energy coming through. Right, so yeah. Let's see what else we have here. We have eros, eroticism, desire, and sex. And I feel like this, interestingly enough, I feel as though this card is coming up because there is not that attention to what it is you truly desire. Like you are, I feel like that's one of the ways that you can replenish your energy, right? I feel like we get this kind of fuel, if you will, through engaging in and pursuing the things that we truly desire, and I feel like this is one of those times where we're being called to that. We're being called to utilize those desires to replenish our energy, to give back to ourselves. In some cases, I feel, how do I say, there are people who refer to that sex energy as like creative, or yeah, powerful in creation. Of course, that kind of goes without saying, but I'm not speaking of like the physical creation of another body, but rather like the the energy that's created during that act. And so for some of you, I feel like there can be replenishment there. Now, as per everything else, take it as it resonates. I don't know if I showed that to you. I apologize. But, this is, I feel, tuning into the matters of your heart before I move on to this next card, and allowing what you desire to fuel you, to fill you, to replenish you. And I feel like this is something that you could gain a lot of clarity on, in regards to your life. You also have fixed action, momentum, and dedication. So yeah, it feels as though, how would I say, again, gaining that clarity on the action that's required of you in order to replenish yourself, in order to not completely deplete yourself. I'm very drawn to the similarity in color here. I mean, if you notice, let's see if I can hold this up in a way that I can show you. The colors of these astro alignment cards and the color on this deep replenishment card are very similar, right? There's lots of those pinky colors, lots of those green and blue colors. So I feel like this is about balancing your energy, right? Because we're getting kind of both of them, balancing your energy, but also allowing, again, those desires and taking action towards those, or being dedicated to those, allowing those to nourish you, allowing those to replenish you, and allowing those things to bring you back into balance. Because it's not always about taking that action towards the things that are going to bring you something physical and tangible. Sometimes it's about doing the things that you love to bring you more, right? To bring you abundance in that way. You also have the 9 of Wands here. which is very interesting because this is that kind of like perseverance and stamina. And what I'm really getting here is like you can't keep dumping and expect to keep going. It's not going to work. Right? Like being resilient is great. Having the ability to, kind of dig your heels in or to put your stake in the ground and to, keep going. Yeah, that's great. But like you can only do that for so long before your fire goes out. Like if you notice here, we have the King of Wands, Ace of Wands, Four of Wands, all in the reverse. This is all fire. This is all energy. This is all passion. This is all inspiration and creativity, all in the reverse. All of it, except for this Nine of Wands, is blocked. The physical world's like, yeah, we're great over here, right? But otherwise, it's like this is all out of balance. And then we come to the Nine of Wands, and this is how could integrating what you learn help you? Well, it can help you to keep living, right? To keep going. By paying attention to these things, by bringing balance to these things, by replenishing yourself, by doing things that you love, by, focusing on different aspects or different sides of yourself that also need your attention, can help you to keep going because this is stamina. So this is what you could be learning and gaining clarity on. Because you can only go so long dumping out your energy before you're on E. And, I mean, to be, kind of gentle, I don't even know if you can be gentle about it, but to be quite honest, you can go and go and go, and you can run yourself literally into the ground and into your grave. Now, I know there are going to be people that don't want to hear that, but it is the truth. So what wisdom do your angels, guides, ancestors, spirit, source, universe most want to share with you as you move forward? That's funny. Just say yes. I think this is hilarious. Why? Well, first of all, if you look, there are 3 beings on this card. 3s are about growth. Number 1. Okay? Number 2, it's balanced. And I feel like this is coming through. Like, just say yes to your own well-being. Say yes to the things, right? Leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. Just say yes. Say yes to your own growth, to bringing yourself into balance, to nourishing and replenishing yourself so you can keep going. And I think it's interesting. You have yes and no here. So again, that balance energy. You also have don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in, right? Because here's the thing. When we focus very heavily on the materialistic, earthly, physical space, we want to, how do I say, in a lot of cases, conform to society standards, society's expectations, society's BS rules, right? Like, oh, you should have this much money and have this car and have all these, this amount in your bank and this house and these clothes and, the ability to do this. And we dim our spiritual self. Look at, you have both of these cards, each have 3 beings on them. Both of them. It's like, yeah, we may be, finding stability in the physical sense, but we are completely throwing ourselves off balance in the spiritual, because we're avoiding that more spiritual aspect. We're not growing spiritually. And by doing that, we smother our souls. We smother the light within us. By conforming to, what's practical all the time, we smother our own light. We don't grow. We don't evolve. right? And from a materialistic space, it's like, oh yeah, having money is great. But what happens when, what happens to your soul? So very interesting. And I mean, oh yes. I feel like this is certainly not only that, but look at this card. These women on these cards, they have their eyes covered. Right? And what's highlighted here? That like third eye energy. So this is about that spiritual side. You have Lilith, power, activism, vengeance. Yes. I feel like that wisdom coming through is activating your own power by bringing yourself back into balance. And I feel like the way that you can do that again is by focusing on these different facets of yourself and nurturing all of them. Not just one or the other. Not just conforming to society's standards and society's rules and expectations and the limitations that the physical world puts on you, without growing that more spiritual self. Because we are meant to, I mean, Lilith is this very independent energy. And interestingly enough, it's coming up as a sovereignty. Okay. And I feel as though this is that aspect that you're meant to be focusing on, because I feel like there's this attachment to the physical world, right? And we're meant to be sovereign. We're not meant to be, having these things in our experience that have control over us. And to be honest, money, materialistic things can have tremendous control over us. Tremendous. So I feel like this is about activating the power within you by stepping into that more independent, sovereign side of yourself, by focusing on all of the facets of your life and not being too attached to the more physical side of things, like I've said a couple of times already. You have Venus, beauty, artistry, love. Here's that beauty showing up again, and love energy showing up again. You have that beauty showing up with Sisterhood of the Rose. You have that love energy showing up with Eros. And now here it is again with the Venus energy, right? And Venus energy is like creative. You have beauty, artistry, love. Again, this is focusing more on the things you love, more on the things that make life beautiful, creating beauty. That includes the love for yourself, love for the things that you do, love for others, your personal values and your belief systems. Right? Like, I mean, this is also about balance. Okay? Venus energy is also about balance. It's so fascinating to me. You also have, I actually am not entirely sure how to pronounce this word properly, so I'm just not going to. But you have midheaven, direction, and reputation. Yeah, and I'm actually going to read from the book for this card for you, but I do want to say that I feel like this is, I feel like for some of you, the message here is that you could be dimming your light because you're worried about your reputation. Again, it's like that attachment to the physical status, like the physical world standards, right? What conforming to what society tells you should be doing. And I feel like there's, this is being noted for you. And I feel this is the wisdom that is wanting to be shared with you, because I feel as though there's a need to change your direction. That's not to say that you cannot, focus on your physical stability, or that you have to like abandon it. But rather, it is about balance. Okay, so it's like we don't want to be hyper focused on one or the other. So I feel like this can be about changing your direction. Yeah, for some of you, like that public face that you have is kind of running the show. And that's where you're dimming your own light or smothering your own light. Also known as your midheaven, or the Latin means middle of the sky, shows how you can access material success. It is the highest point of your natal chart, the top of the circle on the chart, and acts as the cusp of the 10th house of public recognition, or what crossed the southern hemisphere at the exact moment of your birth. The midheaven is an important aspect because it represents your highest aspirations, while the ascendant is the personality you project outward. The midheaven is the identity that is projected onto you by others. This sign represents the perceived reputation, that precedes you. So again, it's really about, like, don't dim your light to fit in. Who cares how others perceive you? Okay? I just feel like there's this need to loosen the grip on that. Also have 7 of Wands. Yeah, and so what's very interesting about this card, and often shows up this way for me, is, I'm looking at it, and there's this woman here who is sitting very peacefully, calmly, and she has these 7 wands pointed at her, again with the friggin' fire energy for you. But that 7 of Wands energy it can be like that defiance, right? Because it's like, okay, I have these 7 wands that are pointed at me, right? Threatening me or aggressive toward me. And I'm just sitting here without a care in the world, in my own little bubble, living my best life, right? Kind of energy. So, I feel like this is having that faith and conviction in yourself, in your own power, in the things that you love, in who you are, and not giving in to that threat from those from maybe your reputation or public image, or sure, light, if you can see. I'm not sure if you can see, but she has this big light here. And so it's like, I'm going to shine my light. Like, I don't care that you got your wands pointed at me. I'm going to keep doing me. I'm going to keep shining. Right? So again, it's kind of that defiant kind of energy, but having that conviction and faith in yourself and doing you. So I feel like this is like, say yes to you. Say yes to showing up for yourself in a different way. Dang. So 2 7s showing up. You may be seeing repeating 7s this month. And again, that 7 energy. Part of the wisdom that's being shared here, I feel, is so you have 2 energies of kind of that like persevering or that perseverance kind of energy showing up, both with the 7 of Wands and the 7 of Pentacles. And you have that faith energy again, because it's 7s. But I feel as though with the 7 of Pentacles energy, it's like changing that direction, which is interesting because you have direction here as well. Because the rewards, how do I say this? Like, the work that you put into your spiritual self and the dedication that you have toward that, the faith that you have in that, the rewards are going to be different. Right? You're going to grow in a different way. It is going to require hard work. But I feel like this is assessing what is actually important. And I feel like that's a big part of the wisdom that's being shared with you here. Because 7s can be, especially in tarot, right, that introspection. And again, we're in that universal 7 month where we're being asked to go within, to dive deep and reflect on our desires and our purpose, and allowing that to move us. And I feel as though, the wisdom coming through for you from your angels, guides, ancestors, from God, is that energy of bringing these into balance, the spiritual or the energetic and the physical, right? Going towards what you love, what you desire, you know, having faith in your convictions, saying yes to those, and not backing down from that because you're afraid of how you may appear to others, type of thing. I hope this makes sense. I know this has been kind of long-winded, but to me, it's like I feel as though this is a message that may have been trying to come through to you for quite some time, or has been nudging at you inside for quite some time, and or maybe you've been trying to figure out what's been going on, and the answer has been trying to come through to you, but has been kind of pushed aside or something. And so I feel like there's this almost this kind of driving, if you will, where it's like, we've got to get this through to you. Like, please hear this, please understand this, please acknowledge this, because the message throughout this entire reading has been very repetitive through all of the spaces, which, yes, it makes sense to some extent, but for it to be driven this hard is like, I feel like, please just say yes, please, please, will you hear us? Kind of energy, right? So I hope that this is helpful for you or provides insight for you that is valuable in some way, shape, or form. If something here has resonated for you, Virgo, please do the YouTube things by liking, sharing, subscribing, or commenting below. It really does help the channel to grow, and I'm so, so very grateful for all of your comments, your likes, for you subscribing and sharing. I'm so very grateful, so thank you for doing that. I pray that you have a month of awakening. I pray that you are able to see these things that Spirit, Universe, God, Source has been trying to share with you, and that you give yourself the opportunity to grow, that you give yourself the opportunity to replenish your well and to reignite that fire within you, bringing balance into your experience in various different facets, and that you're able to step into a new beginning and a new way of being. Take care of your growing, evolving, wise soul. Peace be with you and within you. And I hope to see you again on the next one. Bye.